Hello lovelies, welcome back to The Tangent, Season 2, and I am super excited because we are in Disability Pride Month, and I'm thinking there are a few things that I want to get into more that are quite specific to a disabled experience that we don't really talk about that much. Things like disabled grief and disabled frustration, but also disabled joy. And there's always more nuance to these conversations, so stick around for some nuance and disabled joy stories. Buckle up, lovelies. We're taking a ride through some of the quirkiest corners of my life on wheels. I'm Katie, and I've been doing this disabled thing since day one. This is not your typical disability education podcast. Every tangent, every detour is a chance to look behind that curtain of disabled life, unravel the threads of confusion, and discover those, whoa, that actually makes sense moments. Eventually, this is the tangent, where laughter is the map, curiosity is the compass, and understanding blooms even in the craziest corners. Hit subscribe, grab your headphones, and get ready to be surprised, because the way to understand why is to embrace the wild, hilarious how. So let's do the thing. Okay, so quick disclaimer, if you hear any snoring in the background, it is my service dog, Forrest. He's taking a nap, so just be aware. Yeah. Okay, so right now I want to talk about some moments that have held like even a little bit of disabled joy for me, and we're gonna be a little bit all over the place, but we will come back to the point like we always do. It's the tangent, so there will be a few in this episode as well. So I made some notes and I found some moments of disabled joy, and I have put them into some categories so that we can kind of make sense of them and like have it flow a little bit logically. So I think I got like two main categories of where these stories can fit in. So first is like general disability specific experiences, and then second is like moments that made me feel like seen and appreciated. And I think when I'm sharing these stories, it's a good time for allyship. Like these are moments where people have been good allies to me, and it really sits with you in like a special way, you know? So I hope that made sense and that we're gonna go forward with an understanding, and if not, we'll figure it out together. So the first thing is like really simple. I think a lot of the time the joy is in the simple moments that just happen and you're like, wow, that was nice. So one of the first ones here is when I moved into my flat. I live on the ground floor, which is really helpful. I can make a whole episode about like how difficult it is to find like an apartment that makes sense for you as a disabled person, that actually can support all of the things that you need it to be. That will be at some point in the future. But when we moved in here, like there's a step into like to get to my front door, and we built a ramp, and well, I didn't build a ramp but the ramp was built, and we put it in and it fits. And the first time that I came into my flat independently without somebody needing to help me up the step. Oh my god, guys, it was beautiful. And we need more moments like this. And I think that was so great. I even remember taking a moment just being like, wow, I can do these things. And that happened again when we were in Ireland. And we took the tram. And it's all accessible. And there are no questions. You don't have to prepare people and send them a warning that you're gonna be there 6 days before you actually get on the tram. You can just get on the tram because everything is wheelchair friendly. And that was a weird experience, but also mixed in there was some joy because we don't expect that. Especially in South Africa, we don't have super great accessibility. So having that ability to just go on a tram and go wherever you want and know that it's gonna be accessible when you get to wherever you're going is a wild experience. But I also remember getting into the tram and there's the disabled space and it's these seats are for wheelchair using people, and there were people sitting in them. And we were oh, it's okay, don't worry, we'll just be here. And those people moved out the way. It was crazy to me. What is happening? And the one woman, she stood up and she was oh no, the space is for you, no problem, we'll move. What's going on? But it was really nice that they recognized and acknowledged that a disabled experience is different, and sometimes you need people to sit where it's easiest and most accessible, and that was nice, feeling seen in that way. And then there's random shit, right? When I have shared a logistical plan that I made and it works, that's beautiful. And often it's a problem where we're having practical issues with transport or something, and my disabled brain is well guys, what if we just did this and that made the most sense to everybody? Dude, I spent 30 years waiting for that kind of joy. And also, as somebody who deeply appreciates systems, that's fun for me. So let me have my little OCD nerd moment, please. Thank you. Okay, then there are some other experiences that I feel really good about in terms of these were opportunities for people to practice being an ally, and they did really well, right? So a couple of weeks ago we were on Smile FM. We had an interview with The Breakfast Show. It was awesome. I love those guys. And we got there pretty early, and it was myself and Alex, and she's also a wheelchair user, and we were there to talk about the start of Disability Pride Month, and that was so great. And the thing that's wonderful about this experience is that when we got there, obviously they're doing all their radio stuff, right? But when it was time for our interview, before we even got in the room, here's Phil, the producer. We love Phil. And he was getting everything ready. And he moved chairs out of the way and moved the mics down. And I realized that this is kind of like standard practice in like people doing radio shows and having guests and things, but you would be surprised how many times we have to tell people to move things and to make things like the right way for us to have a good experience as disabled people. It is wild. And we got to smile and we didn't have to do any of that work. It was just like we went into the room and it was space for us and everything was set up beautifully and without like questions. Success just gave us the mics, or not the mics, the headphones, right? Like recognizing that we maybe need help with that and just being like, okay, I'll put the headphones on for you. And that's so good to do it like that and to have people like recognize that we need support differently. And I had Forrest with me and nobody interacted with him, which is how you're supposed to be. He was super chilled, like chilling on the floor. Beautiful, beautiful experience. So let's learn together, right? That it doesn't have to be that hard to have a disabled person feel seen and understood and appreciated, that our lives are different and we need different things. And when people cater for them, we don't have to feel like it's an additional ask or that it's extra work. It just is what needs to be happening. And I'm very grateful that I have friends who do this for me. And a good few years ago, I remember we went out and we went for like dinner and then we went somewhere else, and so there was a location change. And I don't know about you guys, but as a disabled person, as a wheelchair using human, location changes are a bit stressful and bring me anxiety because there are many variables in such a situation. And I know that I also put myself in these situations because I don't generally check whether places are accessible or not before I go to them. I'm just like, well, let's go there and see. And if it's not super accessible, we'll make a plan and we'll make decisions when we get there. But in this whole process, I remember like freaking out and having a whole planning session by myself for how we were gonna get me and my wheelchair like to the new place. And while I'm having this internal debate, plans are happening around me. Like everyone's just made a plan, and I remember being stressed about my body cooperating, and it had not. So my bladder was like, yo, guys. And I was stressing about sitting on the seat in the car. And my friend Taylor got like telepathy with me. And he was like, no worries, friend. He got like a towel that was in the back of his car. And he put it on the seat. And we didn't need to talk about it like at all. But we both knew what was going on. And I think that's the beautiful thing about having people understand and like having allies in that way, is that there's so much that you just don't have to explain to people once they understand it. So I'm okay with explaining things and like being an open book for you, but like I don't want to have to tell you 85 times that this is what I need and this is why I think the way that I do. And that's often a disabled perspective that I'm using. I mean, always as a disabled perspective, but it's great when people can see it and act accordingly and be helpful. And I think for me, in this month of Disability Pride specifically, I love when people can hold space for me to be excited, but also to sometimes be confused about what's going on and how I feel about things. It's a space and an opportunity for us to be all that we are as our disabled selves and be excited about things that are like minuscule in the big picture of things, but make a big difference in how we feel and how we experience moments. And these little moments of joy and acceptance and appreciation, they really bring a lot of breathing room to the way that being disabled can often feel pretty heavy. And it's a lot of hard work for all of us. Everybody involved is working hard when it comes to living a full life with a disability. And I plan to continue doing that for the rest of eternity. So I hope that you are listening and can share some disability joy moments, or you can help to be a part of a moment of disabled joy. Either way, I think it's important to see them and recognize them and celebrate them.